Good morning, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Sanchez-Cepezi, the Director of Language Acquisition, and I'm here to talk about our language acquisition rubric. Part of the report card committee consisted of subgroups, and our subcommittee met and discussed language acquisition and how we should consider it as a part of our standards-based report card. We looked at theory, articles, and tools like the can-do descriptors, and we also looked at example report cards, such as those from Woodstock, Waukegan, North Shore, Glenview, and also nationally around Texas and California. Ultimately, we came up with a goal and purpose for our committee, and it was to develop an asset-based language report to communicate levels of English and/or Spanish progress towards acquisition with parents and guardians. It's important to understand why would we have language acquisition as part of our reports. And that's because at Woodland School District 50, we have close to 1,300 English language learners. And in that population, 792 of those English language learners are dual language students, and 500 some are non-dual language students. We also have a number of former English language learners. Those are students that are being monitored in year 1 and 2, and that is close to 350. And then in addition to that, with our dual language program, we have all of our non-Ls that are learning Spanish. Over the years, we've had lots of conversations around language and standards. Language is highly complex, especially given the number of standards and the complexity of standards that we have. And an English language learner or a second language learner may know a concept but have difficulty in demonstrating it due to the language. And we want to value their second language and what they can do at their language level. So given that we have a standards-based report card, they may not be meeting the standard yet, but it also could be due to their language level. So we wanted to have a tool for teachers to help communicate these key components of language to families, and to have something around understanding standards-based grading for second language learners. Given this context, it's essential that we are looking at language acquisition and communicating that with our families. In communicating language acquisition, we have to understand what that is and what it looks like. And over the years, we've held a series of workshops on understanding language proficiency levels of our students. And so I want to bring back an image that we've looked at before, the ice cream cone analogy. The ice cream cone analogy talked a lot about how long it takes to learn a language. And it can be very different depending on students, their context for learning, their environment, and so on. So first, remember that at the beginning of learning a language, a lot of growth is going to happen quickly. And as you learn more language, language becomes more complex and the quantity is greater. And so it would take a longer amount of time to learn a language, and that is okay. When the language acquisition subcommittee met, we defined what we wanted based on those report cards from other school districts and the tools and theory that we read about. In the end, we decided we wanted an asset-based language report to share with families, something that supported learning another language. We also wanted something concise and not overly complex, something that parents would be able to understand and that would be a friendly, teacher-friendly tool as well. We also wanted this tool to be applicable to any grade level or any content area, and it could also be used for English language acquisition and Spanish language acquisition. We also wanted this tool to be used through observation and evidence that you're already collecting through your current formative and summative assessments and other tasks that you will be using with your standards-based report card. So nothing additional is needed. Over the series of our meetings together, we talked about what should we do with the report around language acquisition. We wanted to be able to share this with our families and have a conversation with them on language acquisition and what this meant. And we also want them to be used to support our students in the classroom, inform our instruction, and help students make growth over time. Let's take a look at Woodland School District 50's language acquisition report. Up at the top, we have an area that gives some context to understanding this report. And that is, acquiring a language can take 7 to 12 years, and it's typical for a student to remain in one area for several years. And that's because this report is all from the context of your classroom, your grade level standards, and the observed behaviors that you're seeing with our multilingual learners. So you're going to think about expressive receptive language. Are the students mostly silent, or are they engaged in classroom interactions by using social and academic language? You're going to look at language structure. Does the student communicate by pointing and drawing, or is the student able to use phrases and expand into simple sentences? You're also going to think about the accuracy of their language. Do they make frequent errors that could impede meaning, or is there only a few language errors that do not impede meaning? And lastly, we're going to talk about the supports that we're offering in the classroom. Does the student rely on a wide variety of supports, or maybe just minimal supports? And so you can see how this can be applicable to any grade level in any context area. You're probably wondering which students and families will receive this report. Parents with a child or children who are current English learners and who are not parent refusals or withdrawals will receive information on English language acquisition. All parents with students in dual language will get information on Spanish language acquisition and English language acquisition, since the goal of the program is biliteracy. And then parents with children who are English language learners and in self-contained special education classrooms will receive information on the role of ESL teachers, English language acquisition, or understanding access scores during IEP meetings. It's important to know that this is a collaborative process when we're reporting out. For teachers that are non-dual classes that have English language learners in their rooms, the ESL teacher, in conjunction with you, will be completing the form for English language acquisition progress to parents. In dual language English, all of the English teachers will be reporting out on English language acquisition, while their Spanish partner teacher will be communicating and reporting out on Spanish language acquisition. So how should we complete this chart? This is a collaborative process. For non-dual classrooms, the ESL teachers will print the form for each student, and they will be reaching out to you to work collaboratively together to complete the form. In dual language classrooms, each teacher will print the form and begin the form for their homeroom. English teachers will complete the English language acquisition portion, while the Spanish teachers will complete the Spanish language acquisition portion. Looking at the language acquisition report, you're going to notice that there are two sections. And that is because in non-dual classrooms, the homeroom teacher is going to rate language acquisition within their context of learning, and the ESL teacher is going to have a section to talk about language acquisition from their classroom section. And this may be different because the context of learning is different and the class sizes are different, and that is okay. This is the same for dual language. English and Spanish teachers may have different responses on language acquisition because students may be in different places on both of those language journeys, and that's okay. The other thing to think about is access scores, and we do not want you to match access scores in this report. They're two different things because we're asking you to report out on your observations in the classroom. The ESL team, Valerie, Maury, and myself are here to support you. We can meet with you individually or teams to help complete this process. So when will we do these reports? It was really important to the subcommittee that the report was not a part of the report card because this needed to be a conversation between teachers and families. So instead of having this on our standards-based report card, we will have these forms given out at November conferences. Dual language teachers will share a copy of the report with families and talk about English and Spanish language acquisition. And they're going to place a copy in the blue portfolios that we have. Non-dual classrooms will share a copy of the report with families and place a copy in the green EL folder in the student queue. Your ESL teachers will help guide you through this process. In May, all families will receive access scores. So this will be the second report to families on how their child is doing in acquiring English language. At this time, we do not have a Spanish language acquisition report, so it will just be the one that's provided to them in November. For our self-contained classrooms, updates will be provided during IEP meetings. Some additional questions that may come up are, why will this not be on the report card? And that's because the subcommittee really feels that this should be a conversation between teachers and families during conferences. It's much easier to talk about language and understanding the report through conversation. So all parents will have the opportunity to schedule a conference with English language teachers, English as a second language teachers, and classroom teacher. In addition, dual language parents will have a conference with both English and Spanish teachers together. The standards-based grading is an already equitable process, but given the number of our Ls and the languages that we have in our district, it's important to report out on progress before May, so we can work towards a goal of improvement. Thank you for your time today. If questions come up, please reach out to myself, Valerie, or your ESL teachers, and we would be happy to support you.